Do you feel your business is part of a bigger purpose God has placed in your life?
Back to my childhood, my dad was in agriculture. I was walking fields with him, and he was a big influence to me. But I just knew it wasn't for me. There, we almost had 300 employees, and that's when you bring in a second in command. Needs to have your mentality, your view of the company. And my father was tough. I have gone back to him and said thank you for that.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of What is Your Story? I'm your host, Louis Sarkis, and we are interviewing some amazing entrepreneurs, business owners here in Temecula Valley. And today I'm excited to welcome Tom from MTC Landscape, whose company was created to fill a real need in the market with high quality landscaping backed by both hands-on experience and deep industry knowledge. Tom helps clients create outdoor spaces that are not only beautiful, but built to last in Southern California. Today, we'll dig deep into his journey and his success. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
How's it
Appreciate
going?
it. It's going good. It's going
Good
good.
to see you.
Been up since 5 a.m., so, typical landscape.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Walk with us. Tell us about your journey. How did MTC start and why?
Well, I guess I can go back, back to my childhood. My dad was in agriculture. I was walking fields with him. He just retired at 80.
Okay.
So he was in the business. Well, he grew up in the fields as well, and Mexican-American, bootstrapped it up, did very well for himself, and he was a big influence to me. I was out working with him after school or on Saturdays in the fields, and he's a licensed pest control advisor like myself, was one of the first. Actually, I think he was the first in California. And so that was a huge influence. Got into Virginia Tech in business marketing.
Okay.
And took my first few classes and knew that, my grades said it, but but I just knew it wasn't for me. And so all my friends on my floor were all in horticulture, and I had been doing that since I was a kid. I already knew about soils and bugs and plants and that type of stuff. And they said, why don't you come do that with us? And my grades instantly went from B's and C's to lots of A's and B's. And I just didn't want to be a clod kicker. I didn't want to go into ag, but I knew that I wanted to do something with plants and soils.
You found your niche.
I did. Yeah. And from there, I interned for 3 summers and went to work for a big chemical and fertilizer company. And about 2 years later, I was recruited by 2 of my competitors to start a chemical and fertilizer company that was really focused on reducing the amount of pesticides going out in the world. And so we definitely sold traditional fertilizers and pesticides, but we also had an organic option.
Right.
We sold that in 2002, and I went to work for the parent company that bought us, and ran the Western United States for about 5 years after that.
Okay.
But we began to grow, and I was traveling longer and longer. I was having more kids, and just decided to step down and go back out in the field. And so from there, I met my future business partner, and just decided to make the jump into full-time landscaping. And so right here in Temecula Valley.
What year was that?
That was 2005.
2005. Okay.
Or 2006. So from that point on, we began to turn that company around and grow it, exponentially through the recession, which was a lot of work. Everybody who lived through that knew how tough that was. It was tough on a lot of people, not just, low end. It was tough in, the middle class and the upper class. It was a tough time for a lot of people, but we did it. And that was a lot of moving and shaking. We cut out the construction division, got into water management, and also started a tree division part of the company. and we did real well. But in 2016, my wife and I had a long talk about it, and 15-hour days and never being home wasn't working. And so I decided to sell my portion of the company back to the company.
Okay.
A lot of great people over there. They're still in business, still doing real well. And with that, I went into consulting.
Consulting
Yes, sir.
for a couple of years.
I did that for a couple of years. There was kind of a non-compete there when I did that. And so I did consulting, and I still do it actually in and around the time that I have. But and 2 years later, when that was over, I started MTC. So we actually started MTC in 2015, just on the side for a little side money, and but around 2017, 18, we
Right.
really got into it.
So
Yeah.
what does MTC stand for?
MTC is actually my wife and my initials.
Oh,
So
okay.
yes, yeah.
So M is for,
Mario Tomas Carrasco
okay.
and Mary Teresa Carrasco.
That is incredible.
Yes,
How
yeah.
did you do that? You're like, before I get married, I'm gonna make sure your
No, it was
initials
just
match mine.
it was just a fluke thing
That's
actually.
cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
And I noticed there's a cross in your logo.
yes.
Can you share that? Why is there a cross on top of your logo?
Well, that wasn't our logo up until about 3 years ago. And I think, you know, been through a lot in my personal life, been through a lot in my business life. And every single time God comes through, when you think it's not going to work out, it does. If you're keeping the faith, and sometimes even when you're having a tough time keeping the faith,
Right.
he always comes through. And so I just thought, that's really who we are as a family, who I am as a person, and basically how I want our company to run. And so we decided to put that in the logo.
How has your Christian faith influenced the way you run your business?
You know, I think, in the Bible, it says that our work is actually an extension of God. And so for me, really showing, if I can just show a sliver of Jesus and God every day in what I do and in my business and my interactions with people.
Right.
And I'm not saying there's days that I fail for sure.
We all do.
But if I can do that, that's my goal. And so in business, it's been really interesting. I can say we're honest. I can say that we do things right. We don't cut corners, even though we'd never get caught, that type of thing. But I think it's more than that. It's the interaction with the client, and how you educate the client and make sure that they know everything about the work, how you treat your employees, which really extends out to long-term happiness for them. Not, from paying them well to, giving them bonuses when maybe another company wouldn't, just because that's the right thing to do.
Right.
Because when you have that humility that God asks us to have, you realize I couldn't do any of this without everybody involved. And so it's not about me, it's about him, and it's about a we thing.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Do you feel your business is part of a bigger purpose God has placed in your life?
I do. As I said earlier, I've been through a lot in my personal life, but I've just grown up on a ranch. We were always taught to persevere. We didn't really have, my father was tough, but I have gone back to him and said thank you for that, because sometimes that upbringing is the only thing that's gotten me through. But I do think that it's had a huge, huge impact on my life. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about MTC Landscaping. What are some of the services you guys provide and offer?
Sure.
And maybe you can share one amazing project that you did in the last 2 years.
So I think one of the main things we do is obviously is landscape construction, but we
Right.
also do commercial maintenance.
Oh, okay.
So we have a big commercial maintenance portion of our business where we take care of HOAs, a lot, mostly in Orange County. We've got some pretty large crews over there, but we also we do landscape construction. The construction side of things for us is, in my past life with a much bigger company, like I said earlier, I was a minority owner. We did massive projects. When I left there, we almost had 300 employees. And I knew that that's not what I wanted to do anymore. I wanted to really get the right client that not only appreciated the work that and our expertise, but that we can do something really special for. One of the projects that I think are one that we're working on right now is a great client, and we've gone so deep with this individual. We go to the nurseries and we pick out the palm trees. We drove out to Mecca to
Right.
hand pick palm trees out of the
You're
groves, and
definitely hands-on.
we're hands on.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we'll have a design. We have that capability of doing an architectural design. That's what I went to school for.
Okay.
But a lot of times,
So you actually do the design yourself?
yes,
Nice.
yes, yeah, we have a team that does that. But yes, that's what I went to school for, is landscape design and architecture. So I do love that part, but many times we'll get to the place where we're going to plant or we're going to place the palm here or there, and we'll just take a look at it, and aesthetically it just doesn't look good. So we'll maneuver it. Or if the client says, "Hey, I don't necessarily like that. Could we do this?" Absolutely, as long as the plant works in that environment.
Right. And with your
Let's
knowledge, you know if it
Yes,
works or not.
or doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll give you an example. A lot of people want to do put rocks as mulch. Okay, well, with typical mulch, which is a wood-based mulch, or just an organic-based mulch, some plants will work, and a lot of plants will work in that. Then, if you put rock in the mix, now you've got heat from the sun coming off the rock. That's just one example. So the plants that would work in the mulch in that situation won't necessarily work with the stone, because now you're getting excess heat. So if it's 90 degrees outside, the
Yeah.
mulch wouldn't, maybe cause 1 or 2 degrees to increase, but those stones could be 15-degree increase. So certain plants won't work.
Interesting.
So we really are hands-on with our clients. We want to make sure that their backyard is someplace that they just absolutely want to be in all the time. It's really about outdoor space. We try and create outdoor spaces and rooms, if you will, for our clients to just enjoy it. That's if you look in the Bible, plants and trees are mentioned over 250 times. As Jesus talks, he talks a lot
Definitely.
about soil, seeds, plants, trees, animals. So that's what we.
What's your
that's what we do.
favorite tree?
Oh man, gosh, there's so many.
I'll tell you
What's
my
so funny
favorite.
is
My
I
favorite
have
is
I have
olive
ones that I hate
tree.
or dislike a lot, but my favorite tree would
Yeah.
probably be the olive tree.
Olive tree, I was just gonna tell you.
Yeah,
That's my favorite tree. I
I,
love olive trees.
well, the history of it. The
Yeah.
history of olive trees is amazing. I mean, for back thousands of years. I mean, it's coming. A lot of stuff's coming out now about virgin olive oil and all the health benefits to it. But
Yeah.
that's what people lived on for thousands of
What's
years.
your favorite flower?
Oh boy, I love marigolds. I think marigolds are absolutely amazing if you're talking about annual flowers. Yeah.
And what one thing you don't tell your client to plant in their backyard? You're like, no way, this is not going to work.
Anything that's going to be a mess,
Ah,
because most clients, I would say, don't want to have anything that's dropping on their concrete, on their artificial turf or their turf.
right.
Just make sure that whatever you plant is going to work for that environment. For
Right.
example, if you want to have nice, healthy turf, you better have some full sun. If you're going to put a lot of trees there, it's going to be shade. You're going to struggle with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Your knowledge is just impeccable.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've
So
got,
there's a lot of landscapers out there. I just
yes.
want to
Yeah.
talk to them about them a little bit right now.
Sure.
There's a lot of landscapers out there
Yes.
listening throughout the country to
Okay.
this podcast right now,
Great.
and a lot of them are struggling,
Sure.
and such a success story that you have. What advice would you give them?
I would say, and this is from personal experience, and stay in your lane's not really the right way to say it, but stay with your core competency. And that doesn't mean that you don't go learn new things. But I have had struggles in trying to either expand out to different states.
Yeah,
And we've had some success at that, but we've also struggled with it because you, as the individual owner, you have to figure out how to take, your successes and recreate those wherever you go.
yeah,
So I would say the first thing to do is um, take everything that you know works for your company, whether it's how you go to business, how you plant, and put it into in a sense, an operational manual.
right.
Um, the second thing is, I would say, when you're running your business, think of it as something. Think of it as an asset. Run it as if you were going to sell it in 5 to 10 years. Whether you do or whether you don't, if you run it that way, your books are tight, your financials are tight. You have all of those procedures that make you successful, as I was just talking about, written down. That's sellable. That's something. And if you run your finances tight and you run your team tight and you reward them, take care of them, you're going to have an amazing company. But always run it as if you're going to sell
Gonna
it.
sell it.
Absolutely.
That's what I keep actually coaching my clients.
Absolutely. And, I've had successes in selling businesses, and
Yes,
that's something that if you always keep that in mind, and again, if you sell it or if you don't, you're going to run the business differently.
you're right. I
Yes.
know you don't have just one business, but you have multiple. Can you
Yes, I do.
share those businesses with us real quick?
Well, I've got well, the consulting I still do.
Yes.
I consult, and I actually work with great landscape companies, and I actually manage those companies, as work with them as a team, for some really large, high-end HOAs in Orange County. I did that because I still needed money to come in as I, had my 2-year gap of non-compete.
Right.
And so I still do that. And so that's one of my companies. It's called Holly LLC. And
What's it called?
Holly
Holly, I
LLC.
love it.
Yeah, Holly LLC. It's kind of our umbrella LLC. And then we have a staffing agency, and that's been going
Staffing
great.
agency.
Yes. Yeah.
That's cool.
We kind of fell into that through the landscape. It's a long story, but we had a client that came to us and said, they have an on-site crew, and they needed people, and um, just to transfer my landscapers over there wouldn't necessarily meet their contractual obligations. So we started a staffing agency. So we do staffing all over the country right
You know
now.
what I like about you, Tom?
That's it.
You can find a business out of anything.
Yeah.
Somebody come and ask you questions like, oh, I'll make a business out of that.
Yeah. I want to go. I want to go back to staying with your core competency, and I know staffing sounds different than landscaping,
Yeah.
but really, as a landscape company, if you're thinking about it as selling the business someday, what you're really selling is labor hours,
Yeah.
and so it's a really easy move to the staffing because you understand how things work operationally, you understand labor costs and that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
it was a really easy transition. Yeah.
Do you see someday selling that business?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I run, a lot of. I'm a stock guy, but not a big stock guy. I have a lot of friends that constantly talk about it. My dad's done great. I invest in my own companies. That's how I look at it. I
Yeah.
invest in my own stocks. I try and live really off of my consulting. And all the monies from the companies roll back into marketing,
Right.
obviously, and increasing the size, expanding those companies,
You're right.
because I run it to sell
Your
it someday.
companies are your 401k.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
So listen, would love to hear a little bit about Tom.
Okay.
So tell us your morning routine. What is it like, Tom?
Typically I'm up between 5 and 6. Let's just call it 5:30. And that's just from being in the green industry for years and years.
Yeah,
It's kind of like the Marines. There's more that happens before 9 a.m. than most people do all day. And I've been blessed with really good folks working for me. I mean, I couldn't do it without them. So I enjoy now, after 30 years in the industry, a little bit more time at home.
right.
But I'm still, my internal clock goes off at 5:30 in the morning. I get up, drink a cup of coffee, have some quiet time before all the kids get up. I do my morning readings, catch up on some news, and then just get ready for the day. And I
Nice.
really try and be set with my appointments and just really know what I've got going on that day. I check in with my folks a lot.
Oh,
Yeah, so making sure all the jobs are going well. So in between my appointments with potential new clients, I go and see jobs too. And
that's what makes you a great leader.
I think that's key, is really keeping your thumb on the pulse as you grow. And every company has a point where it's really tough to continue to do that.
Right,
And that's when you bring in a second in command. He or she needs to have your
right.
mentality, your view of the company, or you can train them that way. And so that's the only way you can expand, because you still, even if it's through your counterpart, have to have your vision fulfilled out in the field.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. What's your favorite book?
Oh my gosh, that's a tough one. Um, I I I haven't been reading many books lately. I love history. I'm a history buff, so I'm on the history
Do you have a
podcast all the
favorite
time.
movie?
Gladiator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
Gladiator.
good.
If you in Gladiator, if you watch those first 12 minutes,
Yes.
if you not only run your personal life but your business life, how the general does, you'll be successful. And I fail at that, but
No doubt.
in the first 12 minutes, he's humble. He's asked if, why don't they just give up? And he says, would you? So he has empathy for his enemy.
Right.
He knows he's on the battlefield. He's running through the forest. He's on his horse going through the forest leading. He's out there with his men, right?
Right.
So he's a leader. He's in it. He's living it with them. As after the battle's over, he's walking through the ranks and he's, hey John, how's your daughter? Not like that, but
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
saying things like that, like, hey Bob, hey John,
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know. And so he's got that personal contact with
Right.
his people. And I think if you run your business like that, it's amazing. Even when Caesar comes and he kneels down and shows humility at that point.
Definitely.
So it's if you have that in your personal and your business life, you're going to be successful.
100%.
All those things. So
S-
first 12
s-
minutes of Gladiator.
Okay, I'm gonna go back and
Yeah,
watch it.
you go watch
So
it.
any last minute thoughts that can inspire somebody out there?
Don't give up, and make sure that when you're starting a business, the biggest thing I think people fail at is having enough cash flow to make it through.
Right.
So when you're building your business, make sure that you have a budget, a realistic budget, and that you have a really good marketing plan to fulfill that. And that's, we all have failed. I mean, I've struggled. I've wondered how payroll's going to get paid that week many times. But if you have a plan in place, you're going to be
And
successful.
don't give up.
And don't give up.
Do you guys hear that? Don't give up. Don't give up. Well, Tom, I really enjoyed listening to your story,
Thank you.
the MTC landscape.
Yes.
I really appreciate you coming on my podcast. You guys don't give up, all right? Don't give up. I really appreciate you listening to this podcast. We'll see you on the next one.